It's now 8:30 in the morning, and we're all of us heading for a cruise up the Yangtze, the mouth of the Yangtze River. We have here with us Monsignor from Exeter. Monsignor, what do you think?
It's great, except for the weather. We should have a little sunshine. It was beautiful yesterday.
We've had some beautiful weather, and I think it'll clear up. They said this is just a temporary thing, so we will enjoy it and see all the ships in the harbor as we go on up and cruise the river.
Very interesting to see all the different ships, different types, and how they can all get up and down here without crashing is a miracle.
We do have fine accommodations here. We have actually the first class section, and we are free to roam and see what is on the ship for us.
But don't take pictures of warships or military installations.
No, I don't think we care about that anyway. We're just interested in us this trip.
It's been a great trip.
Well, Betty, it looks like you opened up today's show in the rain.
And it did make a bit of difference, did it, Marv? It was such wonderful fun, rain and all.
Yes, that is true. I tell you, that was a very exciting day going down the river until we got to the mouth of the Yangtze River. And, well, instead of talking about it, why don't we just show the folks and get right back on board?
Well, let's do that. Good idea.
Okay, and away we go.
And we also have here Father Sorber from Porterville, who accompanied us on this trip. Father, what do you think of the trip?
I am very happy that I made this trip. I had no idea of what China was really like, and I am very, it'll be one of my best memories for here on out. I noticed a lot of things are different. When I was a young man, from what it is today in China, it was altogether different. All the people, the men and the women, wore those heavy pants and work jackets, the blue denim under Mao Zedong, and it's all gone. I admire the simplicity of their dress, a little white blouse, the women, and no makeup. The women don't smoke.
They're very modern dress. Have you noticed that? All the American clothes, the American styles.
But
yes.
Very simple. And no makeup. None of the women wear makeup because it would look gaudy on their faces.
They're very beautiful just by themselves, aren't they?
Almost all the women are pretty in a way. None of them are ugly. And if they wore makeup, it would be kind of gaudy on them.
Yes.
You can go on and on and on and tell them things about it.
So you're enjoying your trip and you're glad you came with us,
You bet.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Betty, did you realize that Shanghai is the most important industrial and commercial city in all of China?
Well, I didn't know until we came here, but I know that it's one of the most densely populated cities.
Yeah, I think, over 11 million people within the city.
I think we saw every one of them, don't you?
I think so. And you certainly see a lot of commerce going along the river here, too. Let's see what some of our other adventurers have to say about the trip.
How are you enjoying the river?
Oh, it's great. I like it. I'm glad it's cool. Nice. I thought I would never be able to ride a boat without feeling sick, but I can.
Oh.
Look at the little sampan. Oh my, that's neat, Marv.
Yeah, look what's behind you over here.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's great. This is going to really be interesting. We get to see what we couldn't see from the city side.
This is a big seaport.
Boy, it sure is. A busy one, too.
It's a worldwide.
This is a Chinese
port.
ship there.
I just saw a Turkish boat.
Oh, really? I didn't see that
a
flag.
Turkish, it's black and red. Well, there it goes, way down there. It was full of coal.
Betty, weren't you impressed with all the ships in the harbor?
Oh, boy, I'll say I was.
There were a lot of them, though, however, that looked like they needed a good scrubbing down, like this one right here, as you see. And I suspect, though, with the amount of ships that are there, that some of these probably do go into dry dock, but maybe some of these just, go up and down that river.
They don't look like they've ever been in dry dock. I was just appalled, really, at the condition of some of them. They must be safe, but they just didn't look very pretty.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're probably not there for aesthetic reasons,
No,
but
they're not cruise ships, are they?
No, that's for sure.
No.
That's for sure. The name of this river is, let me see if I can pronounce it now. You're going to have to help me. I think it's the Huangpu River.
You're the expert on all these Chinese words. I will take your opinion. We'll call it the
Whatever river. But as you said earlier in the program, we're going down to the mouth of the Yangtze River, and then that goes out to the South or East China Sea, I believe it is. But this was really amazing to me to see all the commerce. Now there were a lot of boats, as Eva said a little bit ago, that were carrying coal up and down this river too. So I imagine that coal must be one of the things that are used for heating, I suspect.
I would guess so. But you know, the thing that I thought was so intriguing was to look at the flags and see the different countries. Which I suppose every country is almost, well, it would be every country. It could be represented there in the harbor.
I would think so, because this is one of the major, or if not the major port there. This is, Betty, here you are with these kids. Let's listen to them just for a moment. I want to hear the noise that these kids are making. Biddy, I think these kids were real excited to see you.
They really were. I don't know whether it was me, the fact that
it was your red
American,
shoes.
My red shoes.
Who's the crazy American lady with the red shoes?
Yeah, but look at their kids are kids everywhere you go.
I know, they were all giving you little gifts.
Generous and
wonderful?
And just darling. Yeah, I enjoyed it because having been a teacher and taking field trips before, I could do a basis of comparison here.
Now, do you think these kids were out on a field trip or something like that?
Yes, I do. And you know, they have about one teacher for every 5 or 6 children.
Ooh, that's a pretty good ratio, isn't it?
So they're very well supervised.
Well, I thought these kids were just marvelous, because once you started in visiting with the kids, some of our other adventurers came down on this lower deck to visit with the kids as well, and I think they were all saying ni hao, ni hao.
Yeah, that's hello. Because I would go into them, hello, and they go ni hao, and then they giggle back and forth about it. Yeah.
Oh, the kids are just marvelous, though. Just marvelous. And it looked like you were having the time of your life.
I had a ball. I was glad I could leave, though. I'll tell you, it was a little noisy down there.
But that was fun. Well, we have traveled now further down the river, down the Hangpu River, and we're getting very close now to the mouth of the Yangtze River, where these two rivers meet. You know, flying in to Shanghai, in fact, all over China, I was really amazed to see everything was so green, just as green as can be. And of course, as we were coming into Shanghai, all the various waterways there, and then further on down as we got closer to Hong Kong, the same thing there. There in southern China, it was just amazing to me to see how lush and green all this land was. Well, the day that we were on this river, it certainly
rained
did.
a lot.
Yes, it did. Hello, everyone. Betty and Marv here to remind you about the trips that we have coming up for this year. But you know what? We don't want to talk about that, really.
We don't.
No, we want to talk about the stuff that we're planning for next year, for the year 2001.
Oh, Marv, we're just getting almost to a point where I've got things all in order now. We're going to plan for next year, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Gotta
if you
plan a
say
year
so.
ahead, you know how it
be
is.
the boss.
Anyway, we want to go back to China. And
Yes.
if you would like to go with us, why don't you give Betty a phone call and say, hey, I'm a candidate for China. We'll also, of course, go back to the Holy Land. We're thinking about England, Ireland, and Scotland, Turkey, and South America. So if any of those interest you, give Betty a call and say, hey, Betty, I'm interested in going on one of those trips.
We don't have the brochures yet. These are all in the making right now. We're fomenting for next year.
And so, in fact, you might have an idea of places that you would like to go. That would give us an idea for the year 2001.
I'm probably talking too much like I always do, but you know why we're going to China? Is because we go up to Guilin and we take the cruise and we're going to go to the Three Gorges, and they're going to dam that up, and this will be the last time anybody will be able to see it within the next 3 years. So all of this magnificent part of China will be lost to everyone. So we want to get in there before this happens.
We want to see it before it's all covered with water.
And we want you to see it too.
All right, give Betty a call at
488-7443.
Thank you. A lot of the passengers on of course, now we were headed back towards Shanghai, and so they presented a show of juggling and I guess you call this juggling. This little fella put on quite a show for some time, and then he was followed by a magician. And I was kind of impressed with the things that he was able to do.
Doing it on a boat too wasn't exactly stationary.
No,
It was
that's
pretty
true.
good. 10 minutes of it was enough for me, but the kids thought
enjoyed
it was
didn't
great.
they? The
Oh,
kids
yeah.
had a great time
There were
with
a
it.
lot of big kids too that enjoyed it, you know.
Oh, that's true. Well, China, of course, is known for the jugglers. I mean, there's some famous juggling troops that come out of China, and so this was one that we got to say. I don't know how famous these guys are, but anyway,
But they did a good job, and it broke
They
up the trip. It was nice
Yeah,
to see.
they did. I was amazed to see how many other non-Chinese were on the boat as well. There were a lot of Japanese tourists on this particular ship, and then we ran into people from Germany and from
Oh,
Scandinavia.
look at who's there, Marv. Doris. Oh, God love
One
her.
of our adventurers is a little. She got called up by this magician, and
She was a participant, and she was wonderful.
She was having all sorts of fun. I think. She looks a little dubious, doesn't she? And of course, he's talking to her in Chinese, and she's not quite understanding, and he wants to put her finger down there and see whether or not it's going to be chopped off or not. Well, that wasn't the finger. I think that was a carrot.
Whatever. I don't know what it was, but anyway, Doris was a very good sport. She's gone with us on several trips, and
Right.
it's nice to see her.
She was having fun, but he's not finished with her yet. Now look and see. Oh, I think he's going to try and put the whole hand through this time. There we go.
Now hold your breath.
She looks a little bit in doubt, but I think she's probably seen it. Oh, there we go.
Like it hurt?
Like it hurt, right. The hand's all intact.
And you can't hear, but the audience gave her a big hand.
Oh, yes, right, indeed. So that was fun. So
Oh, yes, you do. I thought it had come later. Okay.
Uh-huh. Oh, my. So anyway, this fellow went on. I had seen a lot of the magic acts that he'd done before, but he did pull out a couple of things out of the hat.
Pretty good,
Yeah, right. This was the cabin that we had, and we'll take a little walk through to see some of the other cabins in the ship. And as you said, Betty, we had it seemed to us like first class accommodations. We even had 2 television sets
Yes,
in our
we had the very
cabin.
best, and
It
they
was
brought
nice.
fruit around, and we had tea.
Hot tea,
and
right.
it was really very nice.
They had a couple of kung fu movies going on the TV sets in case you weren't interested in looking at the river.
Now we had a group of Japanese people right here in this first class
Mm-hmm.
section, and it was very nice. They had their own special service there, and it was they had the view of the river.
Right. Yeah. This is very nice the way that this is arranged, and of course it is arranged for tourists. And as we'll see later on when we go to Guilin, the boats on the river that we went on the Lee River there, it really is set up for tourists, and it's very comfortable. Very comfortable. I thought that this was just really very, very nice the way that it was done.
It's actually nicer than it shows on the tape.
Oh, it always is. Yeah,
yes,
sure.
because it wasn't that clear. Oh, theirs
Yeah.
is a good view now.
Yep. And you can see some of these. I think these barges had coal in them, and they were being towed across. The boats were just going every which way. I mean, it didn't seem like there was a traffic cop out there in the river at
And
all.
it was a continual stream.
Right.
A continual stream.
What amazed me is that there weren't any accidents. At least we didn't see any out there on the river. But it was really something, and it was kind of a drizzly day. Now this is going back to the hotel, and Betty, I wanted to show these signs because these are advertising signs. Now, mainland China is under communist rule, and as was the U.S. or as is the USSR. And the difference that I wanted to show is that when we were in the USSR, we didn't see any advertising at all. But here in China, well, here's a television set as an example, and a VCR that was being advertised there on these great big huge billboards, a washing machine, Canon copiers, and
But do you
other
realize in Russia they don't have these things to sell? There's
Well,
a
they must have
shortage
some of it. Yeah,
but
that's
very,
true.
very few. I mean, they have people want to buy them.
Right.
And so there's not really a need to advertise in Russia, or perhaps they just don't allow it. But the people in Russia that we talked to told us that they did have the money, but the goods just weren't available. What years you have to wait for a television set.
And I think that must be quite a difference from China, because
Yes.
here everything was in plentiful supply.
Yes.
Now, Betty, here again we want to show this pedestrian way that goes up above on the second story and goes all the way around, touches all 4 corners of the intersection there. And look at the style of the houses here that you see. Of course, the English and the French were here quite some time ago. Now, there is a Catholic cathedral, and we're inside it right now and taking a look here. And again, the lighting isn't very good, so it looks a little bit fuzzy. But the language of Latin is still used in the masses because the church was nationalized, of course, in China, and diplomatic relations were broken off with the Vatican. And it was very interesting because Monsignor Balker is going to meet a teacher who is also a priest. He was a professor at the seminary outside the cathedral here, and the common language that they had to speak in was Latin.
There they
because the Chinese priest didn't speak English, and Monsignor, of course, didn't speak Chinese. But it was interesting because the Chinese priest had been in Berkeley about a year before and was doing some studying there. So
Didn't do much for his English, did it?
No, I don't think so. But they were having a great time, and he was telling Monsignor, we were sort of eavesdropping, Monsignor told us that the fellows that you see right here are seminarians, and that their seminaries are full.
Isn't this marvelous? This is in a communistic country.
Right.
It was thrilling to know that there was a Catholic church in operation.
Right. This is a shot of the outside of the motion picture studio, which is very close to the cathedral there. I wanted to get that because, you know, the movies in Shanghai have been famous for many, many years. Now we're going to jump in an airplane overnight and looking at a scene in Guilin, China. This is before the sun came up. I was shooting this outside of the hotel window, and these people are doing Tai Chi, or evidently a variation of it, because it almost looks like they're dancing.
Now this is early in the morning.
Very early. The sun has not come up yet.
And now you can get a better overview of it. It's just absolutely exquisite.
It really is.
To see this in the lake setting, like there, you get a better view of it.
Again, the sun has not come up, but we were so excited being here because we arrived at night and we couldn't see very much. In fact, when we went along by the main roadway, most of the people who were eating outside little tables by little lamps and candles. They weren't using an awful lot of electricity there. So we didn't get a chance to see much of the city at night, but we knew that we were going to see these kind of grotesque mountains the next day. And I wasn't the only one, Betty, that was up at this hour of the morning. There were several other people that were taking pictures.
I was up, but I don't think I got up quite as early as you did. Oh, now see there, the light is coming in. It's beautiful.
And see these little fellows I think they're fishermen on these boats. Those boats are 4 or 5 great big pieces of bamboo that are strapped together, and that's the little raft that they have.
Like a couple of water skis that they're out there on, you know. There were some waves,
Yeah.
But I was so impressed with this place. This was just like you imagine China to be.
Exactly.
Hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Right.
It hasn't lost any of that pristine beauty.
No, that's for sure. And we're going to travel on further down the river, and we will see in fact, we didn't board our boat here. We took a bus and went through town, and we'll tell you about that in a moment. But you can see there's a modern highway, there's modern bridges there. But look at this. It almost looks like a fairyland out in the mists. There are some pagodas that are up on those rocks, on those hills, and it's just absolutely breathtaking.
The history is quite interesting to think that this was all under the sea 320 million years ago. Everything was under the sea. Yes, yes. And then with the period of time, the water evaporated, and then they had a crustal movement, and it brought up from the bottom of the sea these mountains that we're looking at today. Limestone mountains. I don't know.
Is that what they're made out of, limestone?
Limestone.
Well, they look grotesque, but the grotesqueness also has a beauty, and we'll see more of that a little bit later on in this program, and in the next program we'll devote almost the entire program to going down the river. But the sun now is just again peaking, and you can see the fishermen again going out in the main part of the river. And
Marv, excuse me for interrupting you. Now they're fishermen, but where do they put their catch? Is that
I think there's little
baskets,
baskets there.
baskets, or do they hang underneath the?
I don't know. I didn't get that close, but I think they were in the baskets.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, there are also nets, if you see, that are folded up, the little white things in there.
Yeah.
Some of the fishermen were using nets, and some of them were using a fishing pole. I was surprised. We'll see that again in the next program. Here, the sun has finally come up.
Lovely?
And it's gotten a little more misty off in the distance, and fewer people now are out doing their exercises in the morning. Betty, I think Guilin is a must when a person goes to China, Don't you think so?
Oh, my goodness, yes. What you would miss if you didn't come
Right.
here.
Well, there's Mr. Lee, and Mr. Lee is our national guide. And he told us, he said goodbye the night before, then he came back, and he's coming back again. It took him 2 hours again to say goodbye. I think he sort of liked us.
I think he liked us, and he was so funny. I think everything he told us 5 or 6
Six
times.
times, right,
It was,
yes.
I don't know whether that's a custom with the tour guides, but it was, it got to be
It was
funny
with him,
after a
right.
bit, yes.
Mr. Lee, who is the national guide. Now you have more than one guide when you go on the trip. You have a local guide, as you can see right here, who's explaining to us about Guilin, and in each city that we go to, we have a local guide. But then we have a national guide that accompanies us on most of the trip as well. And Mr. Lee, who was from Xi'an, that was his hometown, and he was very happy. He was a little homesick, I think.
Oh,
he wanted to get back there, didn't he?
In case you're wondering why Marv and I are doing so much talking right now when we do have a guide on the bus with us, this guide wasn't all that understandable. Because we were with her for a while, we understood as we went along. But for television viewing, it would have been very difficult.
It is a little difficult.
So that's why we are sort of taking over.
Betty, these are local taxis. They're sort of like pedicabs, I guess is what you
I think
would call
I'd rather walk.
Well, I don't know. You can get around very fast
Yes,
by
that's right.
bicycle and the little pedicabs that they have. What we're looking at now is there's an underground market that is being constructed here. It's going to be evidently quite nice, like an underground mall. And China is becoming so modernized so fast. So many hotels that we saw, in fact, all the hotels we stayed in were like palaces, I thought. They were just absolutely wonderful.
Oh, look at Marv. Look at
These
that.
are the scenes that you expect to see in China, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and you didn't see too many of those, quite frankly. That's why we tried to get a few shots of this. But again, going back to the hotels, I was just amazed because they were absolutely beautiful. Well, now we've left town and we are on the way out to the river where we're going to catch the boat. And now you get a view of some of these mountains. Now, what did you say, Betty? They were made out of again. What the formation was?
Well, these were all under the sea at one time, about 320 million years ago, I suppose. And so then when there was a crustal movement, well, you know, it's not overnight.
Yeah.
They rose from the bottom of the sea, and what was sea became land. The erosion that's taken place is due because of the underground water that they were in, you know, the currents. And
yes,
now they're exposed, of course, to the elements now.
So that's basically limestone, is what it is. I see. Yeah.
And the shapes that they have that is that the erosion that's taken place. And they're young. They haven't had a chance to erode. They're only something like, 3 million years old, young.
I guess that's comparatively young in the
yes, it's
history
young.
of the Earth, right?
Yeah, for erosion to have started
Right.
to wear off the tops.
Again, you can see the green and the areas that you see here. We passed some collective farms and we passed an awful lot of private farms because the farmers now that you see sell their crops out alongside the road. A lot of them do, and a lot of them have gotten into the tourist business by selling tourist items. In fact, they have become wealthier than a lot of the doctors, a lot of the professors, and a lot of the professional people in the cities. The farmers out there. Now
Here
we
we
finally
go.
arrived
Yeah.
at the
dock,
place where
huh?
yeah, that's where it is. Now again, I wanted to say that this is really set up for tourism. Look at the tourist boats. Look at the tourist boats. And they'll
yet,
all be filled.
We were in an off season too. You know, September is a tremendously good month to go as far as weather and tourists.
I thought the
Yeah.
weather was great. In fact, I got a little sunburn on my nose this day. Now,
Well, that's not too hard, Marv.
with my nose, that's correct. That's not too difficult to do. They were cooking on the back end of these little boats, and we did have a delicious meal. In fact, they provided us with a meal, and then if you wanted to order other things, you could. Of course, you had to pay for that. I mean, there was shrimp and there were lobsters and other things that could be ordered. But I thought the meal that they gave us was sufficient. In fact, it was very, very good. We also had orange juice. You remember that?
We had orange juice in little plastic cartons. And in fact, we had a lot of fun with it later on. We threw some of the cartons to the kids that came out. I'm
That
sure
were
you're
swimming
going
out
to
in the
see
river.
it.
Yeah,
Yes,
we'll see that on our next
and
on our next
take a look at the cups
visit.
that you see on the tables. The the tea was served in these with little lids. Oh, golly, I tried to buy one, but they wouldn't sell it to me. They were just exquisite. I loved them.
And you see, there were people from all over the world that were on these boats. Their next little boat pulled out and gave us a chance to get some shots of the back end of that boat again, where they're doing the cooking.
Not a bad way to get rid of your garbage, huh?
Well, the water buffalo will probably enjoy that later on down the river, I suspect. Now here are Eric and Selma Lane, and they're ordering a few things. Of course, the menu's in Chinese, so our guide is translating. And
how come you didn't translate for them, Marv?
Betty, unless it's in English,
You're lost.
I'm lost. Yeah, okay. I'm afraid so. But this was a wonderful day, and it was great too, in that it gave us the whole day on the river, a day to relax, take pictures, just enjoy the scenery. We needed it.
And they have a store on the boats. They sell a lot of wonderful objects.
Yes. We'll have some pictures of that in our next
show.
Yeah, right. Now, besides the tourist boats that go up and down the river, of course, there's a lot of commerce on this river, and there are a lot of water taxis, and there are sampans, as you can see here. And some of these people haul goods from village to village, and some of them are fisher people, and some of them just live on these sampans.
These are their homes. Mm-hmm. And you'll see the laundry hanging up. The wife does, somebody does the laundry, and then they hang up, see on the sides where Marv was intrigued by some of the lingerie that's hanging up there. Very feminine, really.
Yes, it was interesting. There probably weren't too many secrets there on the river if you're living on it. I suspect.
There can't be. No.
Hello, everyone. Betty and Marv here to remind you about the trips that we have coming up for this year. But you know what? We don't want to talk about that really.
We don't.
No, we want to talk about the stuff that we're planning for next year, for the year 2001.
Marv, we're just getting almost to a point where I've got things all in order now. We're going to plan for next year, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Gotta
if you
plan a
say
year
so.
ahead, you know
You
how it
be
is.
the boss.
Anyway, we want to go back to China.
Yes.
And if you would like to go with us, why don't you give Betty a phone call and say, hey, I'm a candidate for China. We'll also, of course, go back to the Holy Land. We're thinking about England, Ireland, and Scotland, Turkey, and South America. So if any of those interest you, give Betty a call and say, hey, Betty, I'm interested in going on one of those trips.
We don't have the brochures yet. These are all in the making right now. We're fomenting for next year.
And so, in fact, you might have an idea of places that you would like to go. That would give us an idea for the year 2001.
I'm probably talking too much like I always do, but you know why we're going to China? Is because we go up to Guilin and we take the cruise, and we're going to go to the Three Gorges, and they're going to dam that up, and this will be the last time anybody will be able to see it within the next 3 years. So all of this magnificent part of China will be lost to everyone. So we want to get in there before this happens.
We want to see it before it's all covered with water.
And we want you to see it too.
Right. Give Betty a call at
488-7443.
Thank you.